This is really, nothing to do with the Commission.
Yeah.
It's, something I, of course, support. It's a decision that has been made, but it's not for the Commissioner to comment on this.
Well, only one exception is just about human rights, but this register is not about moral injury or compensation about moral injuries. But
Right.
to think about it, how it's possible to compensate that way.
I mean, that's something that will need to be decided, after, talks on how to establish it. That it's a very complex process and it has to be done in a very sort of precise way. But as I said, it has nothing to do with the Commissioner in a sense, of the mandate. I just continue doing my job the way it is.
Is it possible just to estimate those injuries, like moral injuries?
I told you already, this is something that has to be decided. Now it has been established, which is a great thing. But all the details, everything, that is part of making it work, which is the most important thing, is not really something that I can inform you at the moment.
Thank you so much for
Thank
this.
you. Thank you.
Europe for political presence in Belarus?
Well, I'm doing quite a lot on this. Well,
Ja, ze wisten wel 2 euro.
Robert, nee, zitten.
I met with the majority of since yesterday. But I met with the majority of leaders of the governments on reception. So met a lot of Belarusian friends, and I see how there is political will to support our Belarusian cause.
Did you get any concrete commitments to aid you in your battle?
Concrete commitments are made on during our official visits, to different countries, and in this atmosphere, you are just saying words of support, or can mention a couple of main issues like deployment of nuclear weapon, or humanitarian crisis, or threat to independence of Belarus, just for further discussion on the working level.
There is a lot of focus, of course, on your neighbors in Ukraine. Do you feel that the people here are aware of the situation in Belarus and how these things are connected?
Of course, now all the focus of international society is on Ukraine, and we fully support this because victory of Ukraine is a key factor for victory of Belarusians as well. Because the fate of Belarus and Ukraine are intertwined, and the victory of Ukraine will weaken Putin and hence weaken Lukashenko. But Belarusians are not just sitting and waiting when Ukraine wins, and we will have this window of opportunity, but we are helping Ukrainians as much as we can, being ourselves in an extremely difficult situation because of humanitarian crisis with the increasing number of political prisoners in Belarus, and also a threat from Russia. We see the signs of creeping occupation of our country, but of course Belarusians inside Belarus and outside are helping Ukrainians. There are military volunteers who are fighting in Ukraine. People of Belarus are donating to Ukrainian army. Belarusian refugees are helping Ukrainian refugees because we know what it means, to grab child, grab one bag and leave the country you love without anything. And of course, free and democratic Belarus and Ukraine are in the interest of the whole Europe.
Finally, there was some speculation a few days ago that President Lukashenko was ill or incapacitated somehow. What are your sources within the country saying?
So there is no President Lukashenko in Belarus. He is an illegitimate person who seized the power. Yet there were gossips that he is ill, and he disappeared from public for 5 days. And it actually galvanized discussion in society what we should do just in case people had hope. But Lukashenko is a dictator. He wants to show that he is controlling everything, and despite his sickness, he appeared in public for 15 minutes. He looked rather poor, but it gave this push to the society to to concentrate on the discussion what we should do, because there are many people think differently. Some people are rather radical in Belarus and think that without radical means it will be impossible to dismantle the regime. We are stick to the idea of joint actions, maybe elements of peaceful revolution, but also we should take into consideration also these thoughts. So our task is to marry all the ideas, to join all the ideas, and to have plan. And our plan is to start attempts, to install kind of negotiation with those Belarusians in the regime who want democratic changes, and there are plenty of them. Then we will need to mobilize Belarusians in Belarus and abroad. And the third point is support of international society. What will be their actions in this particular moment?
Right.
Thank you.
Yes, I think it's very good. But
Does it have a practical purpose, though?
Definitely, I think it's very good that we see so many countries who are joining this, including the United States, and I think that this is something to be cherished and commended. We will now have a firm basis for looking into the question of reparations in the future, and that's very good. Excellent. Thank you.
Prodotto da norvegesi, si apre sta faglia, c'è una catastrofe, viene fuori il petrolio dai pozzi, lo devono incendiare, si crea una catastrofe ambientale, eccetera, e che cosa si vede? Non preoccupare, in mezzo a questa catastrofe, c'erano singoli milleni, il cane assegnato, e poi il cane assegnato ormai in Norvegia non c'è più assolutamente, perché la società c'è un'incorporata che si chiama Energy, e tutto questo da questa parte.
Madam President, will we get a short statement regarding the reparations? Perhaps you can tell us, I mean, what does this signing of the Declaration of Reparations mean in practical terms, do you think?
I think that the declaration means that we are united, that we reached an agreement about our stance towards the war in Ukraine, and I think that we demonstrate the power of the Council of Europe and of the United Europe. So that is why I am happy that we could find a consensus about the declaration.
There's seems to be little sort of awareness of what the Council of Europe even is on the continent. Does it matter that everybody is meeting here and signing papers?
I think it is important that the leaders, after 20 years, get together and speak about the potential outcomes of the war and how we can handle it. Thank you.
Kanzler Scholz, eine kurze...
Russia, and we should apply also the same level of sanctions also for Belarus, and we are working on that.
What do you think about this sanction will be together with Russia?
Because it's two different countries, I think it's for legal reasons it would be in principle the same result, but in two different packages.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you.
What do you think are the practical implications of signing this declaration of reparations?
That means, first of all, that there is a legal recognition of the duty of Russia to pay damages. It's on the legal level. Of course, then this is the basis for further steps. The further steps could be to not only to seize Russian assets, they are to a big part already seized, but also to give these assets to Ukraine for rebuilding Ukraine. It's so to say the core of the reparation. It would not be not cover all damages because they're huge damages, but at least a part. I think we are creating the legal basis for that.
Several countries have decided not to sign. Do you have any sympathy or understanding for their point of view?
It's difficult to understand because the Russian aggression against Ukraine is the gravest violation of international law, which is possible, which is imaginable. And for such violation, there should be also a response of international law, and this is one reasonable response. Also, it's a widely recognized principle that when one country is causing damages, they should repair it.
These countries have complicated many of them relations with Russia. Do you believe they were pressured?
I think we should also to try to convince the whole international community also that the international law is the basis for the peace in the world, and all states should contribute to maintaining of the already achieved standard of international law. This is nothing new. It's already in the international law today. We are already applying. We are only applying the international law standards to Russia, to this case. So, thank you.
Morning, Prime Minister. Could we get a short statement regarding the list of reparations, perhaps, for the international press? President Ministru, if we could get a short statement from you, what do you expect this list of reparations to mean in practical terms?
Well, it's very pragmatic and practical in the way that it is done regularly, clearly, with evidences. So it's very important.
Do you think the Russians might take this as a further provocation, as they would call it?
Well, I think they have provocated already by causing damages.
Several countries have opted not to sign. Do you understand their hesitations or point of view?
I haven't been discussing with my colleagues, with those who haven't signed, but according to my understanding, almost everybody has. Thank you.
Since this statement of reparations, do you think it will be something that can be enforced?
Well, first of all, I think it's important for the victims, and it's important to show that nothing goes unpunished, and that 46 countries will make very clear that we will record what has happened. So mostly for the victims, it is a very important message, and we've had so many. Many people thought that Ukraine would be defeated in a few weeks, and actually we see today that it is the opposite. And it's important to give a message to people who have damages that we will not forget them and that we will follow up afterwards.
Can this be implemented, though? How do you go about collecting damages?
Well, this has been done before. And the Council of Europe has built up a whole system to do this. And I think, again, it shows the value of an organization such as the Council of Europe to make human rights respected. Human rights are not something we just talk about. It is something we have to work every day. And here the war in Ukraine is a good example to show how you put it in practice. And I would like to thank the Council of Europe for all the work that has been done. I think, again, it shows the vitality of the organization and the need of an organization which has human rights, rule of law and democracy at the core of their functioning.
Even so, most citizens of Europe don't seem to be even aware of the existence of the Council. How much can it achieve if people aren't even aware that it exists?
Oh, it's not because something people are not aware of something that it is not important. You know, human rights is something you don't talk about too much until you lose it. And that's the importance, is that human rights are an endeavor we have to work on every day. And the moment you as a citizen, you lose your rights or they get hampered, knowing that there is an organization such as the Council of Europe is a good thing.
Some declaration will mention Georgia as well, because our territory is occupied by Russia. So can you tell us about Georgia and the importance of this summit for partners who are under pressure from Russia?
Well, let me first of all say that I will listen to what Georgia will say about it, and that the general principles of how we reacted towards what happened in Ukraine are universal principles, in the sense that sovereignty, respect for the integrity of a country are important elements. And I will listen to other representatives from Georgia have to say, and then listen to what the reaction is.
And as we are waiting for political decisions this year to receive candidate status, is a main message of our government here in Ireland that we deserve candidate status this year. So my question is, would you support candidacy for Georgia this year?
Again, there as well, let's listen. Candidacy of the European Union, that's another organization. It takes some time, and it is a very factual process. But we have seen the progress that, for example, Ukraine has been able to achieve in a very short time frame. It shows the importance of organizations such as the Council of Europe and the European Union, is that people aspire to it because it guarantees them peace, it guarantees them prosperity, it guarantees them respect for human rights. So I understand that ambition of Georgia and of other countries. It will also be one of the topics being discussed in the next weeks within the European Union on how to handle the expectations of countries to become at some point part of the European Union.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, goodbye. Thank you means.
Pues mira, este que entra.
Good morning, Minister. Could you tell us, is this registration?
It's very clear and very impressive even that everyone is in full alignment, and all this community stands for Ukraine, with Ukraine.
And this talk about fighter jets, is that breaking the last taboo?
I think what is more and more clear is that Ukraine is fighting for Europe, and Europe has to support Ukraine with all means. It's very clear.
And do they have to make haste? Do they have to hurry up with the fighter jets?
It's not for me to tell them.
Good morning,
to
Madam President.
Thank you.
Madam President. Mr. President.
Register a new system to
well, let me start that the register is really the first necessary and urgent step in establishing the comprehensive mechanism of compensation. So we are very glad that the Council of Europe had a very appropriate legal framework to start with that, which is this form of large partial agreement, which allows all the member states of the Council of Europe to adhere to the register, all of our observer states, but any country around the world. So at this stage, and I think this is really a great success, we have 40 countries that have signed up to the register, plus the European Union, which is also important, and we are waiting for 3 more countries to join very soon while they accomplish their internal procedure. So why is it important? It is because we wanted really to have a justice that is centered on the victims. Victims are, as you well know, unfortunately falling every day in Ukraine as we speak, and there are so many people who suffered moral or material damage, and these people need to be compensated. And the very first thing to do is to record the claims, and then that system has to work.
Secretary General, you've mentioned that 3 more countries are going to join the signing ceremony. So, which countries do you?
Well, it's Andorra, Switzerland, and Bulgaria. But we expect more. And an important thing is that we have, among 40 already signed up member states, we have 3 continents and all G7 countries represented.
But several states within the Council of Europe have decided not to sign the register of damages. Are you disappointed? Do you understand their point of view?
Well, we wish that ultimately everyone could join, and the idea was to have a broad participation, which already is a great sign where we have 40. Of course, it's up to each and every country to decide when they are joining, but of course that would be, since it is established under the aegis of the Council of Europe, we would be thrilled to have all the member states.
What are the arguments for not signing of the ones who haven't signed yet?
Well, I, as a Secretary General, I receive notification to sign, not to those who are different. But I really hope that along the way others will join. But for the time being, this is not yet the case.
What of Europe do to people in Belarus and support political prisoners?
Well, while we were deciding on expelling Russian Federation from the Council of Europe, we immediately saw the need to assist democratic forces in Belarus and in Russia Federation. With Belarus, we moved really rather far. We established a special contact group, which is represented from the Belarusian democratic forces side by civil society and democratic opposition, and I can led by Madam Tikhanovskaya, and very soon we will have already the next meeting, but we decided on an action plan how to assist those who want really to get more involved with the convention system of the Council of Europe, and how to prepare for their possible role in the future more with when and if these countries decide to go on a democratic path. But we are very glad that with Belarus we went very far. Belarus, as you know, was never a member of the Council of Europe, among other things, not only because it was not democratic, but also because it never abolished the death penalty. But we, of course, the aim of the Council of Europe when it was created was to encompass the whole continent. So we really look forward to the possibility that one day Belarus will join. But in the meantime, we have this problem of political prisoners that are now really in huge numbers. And while Belarus is not our party to the Council of Europe, we are very much concerned of the crack on civil society, on the freedom of association in Belarus, and of imprisoning so many and very often very young people from Belarus, and to very, very appalling and long sentences without good grounding in what the rule of law and democratic standards would be. So we support people, and I release statements in order to urge Belarusian regime to release prisoners. I'm appalled by the fact that some have died recently in the prison, but we are on their side, and we hope really that together with the rest of the free world we will be able to help Belarusian people who want freedom to really get to more democratic state in Belarus.
Thank you. We have to go. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Jazz